All right, welcome everybody. My name is Oluwaseun Adekomi, and this is AI or Die, a practical approach to building products that are scalable. We have with us today Mr. Ebubechi, and I'll let Mr. Great Oladipo, developer with CHSG Nigeria, introduce Mr. Ebubechi from London. Mr. Great.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm excited to welcome you all to this session of the CHSG Tech webinar series. Today's topic is titled AI or Die, a practical approach to building products that are scalable. So our speaker is someone with a deep passion for using technology to solve real problems. He's the co-founder and chief product officer at Beyond Mood, and previously served as the founding product manager at Convoy. With a strong background in backend development, AI, and cloud architecture, he brings a wealth of knowledge on how to design intelligent and scalable systems. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Ebubechi and shares insights and shape the future of how we build the products.
Perfect. Yeah. Oh, die. All right. I think really for us, it's time to talk about building products that scale with AI, right? Taking it beyond hobby projects, right? That I built this this AI scraper or AI this or AI that, and asking ourselves, how do we take it to the next level? So by way of introduction, right? Um uh, yeah, perfect. By way of introduction, which is one a software engineer. I enjoy building products largely on the back end. I'm not a big fan of front end applications. And also I'm quite involved in like data and AI projects these days because I find that really, really, really interesting. Other than that, I think my superpowers are that I like to learn things really quick and I don't know how to give up. So yeah, that said, let's get to the meat of this. Okay, no, yeah, that's what I was looking for. So, first things we just want to understand is basically look at what are the basic concepts of AI, exploring the opportunities and potential behind it, right? Identifying challenges and risk these days, right? I mean, and then also answer the questions around ethics. Everyone speaks ethics, 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 right? Um, so yeah, has anyone here had a chance to? I mean, beyond ChatGPT, because I would imagine that there's no one here on this call that hasn't used ChatGPT of any of his siblings. But has anyone here try and also to gain a good understanding of what our audience is like today? Has anyone had experience building stuff with AI, right? So let's say working with OpenAI APIs or working with an open source large language model. Does anyone have that experience? Can you just put that in the chat, please? Or you can feel free to unmute and speak as well. What experience have you had interacting with AI models? Anyone? Okay, I would I would move on from there then. So to 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 bring this up to speed, right? Realize that when we talk about AI, right, we want
Okay,
for me, I'm very
I
particular
think
on
I think
yeah.
Mr. Great was saying in the chat box that he has
Oh, okay.
built.
My bad. I can't see the chat. But okay. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Let me just bring that up here.
He has built
Okay. Go on.
he has built with OpenAPI previously.
Okay. Okay.
I think he mistakenly sent
Great. Could you?
the direct message to me instead of to the whole group chat.
That's fine. I mean, everyone has that experience. Mr. Greg, are you happy to come off mute and just share with the audience what you built with OpenAI? This is the part where we shout, no project is too small, no project is too big, and all of that. Great. Are you able to come off mute?
Okay, so yeah, I built an app that
Yeah.
converts text to speech from that converts speech to text from YouTube videos using OpenAPI's
Okay, that's like creating captions
OpenAI's
off of
API.
YouTube videos.
Basically transcripts. So you just put the link of a YouTube video and
Okay,
then give you a
transcript of the
full
video.
transcript of
Okay.
everything that was said. Yeah.
That's quite interesting. That's quite interesting. Okay. Yeah. So to thank you for sharing as well. Much appreciated. So you see that when we look at it today, AI is just not some other buzzword, right? Yeah, there are people that treat that on that and then use that to market and then raise a lot of money. But I think beyond the hype, right? I think it's time that and which we're going to see a whole lot more in the coming years, right? I mean, yes, as with every new tool, which we saw in same with blockchain, we saw with what was the other thing? When we talk about big data, when we talk about data lakes, right? Every new innovation that comes off the scene, right? Sounds like there's so much hype. I mean, even if you go back 20, 25 years ago at the beginning of the internet, there was so much hype, right? Does this mean that these tools, these innovations are not useful? No, right? But it just means that there's a responsibility on us to separate hype from reality, right? It's like what you said, when the tide goes out, you know who was swimming naked. So the point I'm driving at that it's high time, especially in Nigeria, in Africa, that we focus on solving real problems, right? Thinking practically. Yes, beyond the theory of understanding how transformers work, right? How machine learning models work behind the scene, right? How can we take that theory, right? Which we also learn a lot in our schools today, and take that into building workflows, right? And systems that people would actually use and depend on, right? For instance, word on the street is that ChatGPT has crossed 1 billion users, right? That's one with a B behind it. That's one with 9 zeros after it. That's a 10-digit number, an entire bank account, right? But much more than that, it's about the fact that it's solving real problems for people, right? And that's why you're having it gather so many users every single day, right? But now, so today we're going to hopefully have some time to talk through some practical use cases, right? With the whole idea that we are able to live here with an actionable mindset to win with AI, right? And this is one of the interesting takes. I don't think I'm not a proponent of it's human versus AI. I think it's going to be a question of humans that know how to use AI and are AI native in that sense versus those that feel like, oh, I'm not going to touch AI with a pole, right? And because I was looking at some research yesterday, and you see how one human being, it's consistently been shown that one human being with AI is equal to a team of two, right? A team of, it's like produces the same output as a team of two people. So you're looking at that with coding, right? I mean, always had that. We've always done pair programming through the years, right? So it's as imagine a company thinking about it that if I have one engineer that has access to interesting tools we will look at later, Copilot, Cursor, and the likes, it's equal to having two engineers pair programming. Think about that from a cost perspective, right? It means that when you have two engineers, one person might have to go, right? I mean, I don't want to go down the lane of singing the part of, oh, this is going to cut jobs, right? Because I think that yes, some jobs are going to go away, but you're also going to see jobs created, right? It is the same way we live at the world we live in today. More than half of the jobs that people doing this generation did not exist 100 years ago, right? And then it's the same way how in fact, literally 10 years ago, prompt engineering wasn't a job title, but today a lot of companies are hiring for prompt engineers. So on that note, I think we're going to see the types of jobs people wake up every day to do is going to radically change, right? And we just have to be prepared for that. But now coming back to the bit on building, I think first answer the question on what exactly are we referring to when we talk about AI, right? I would give a very simple definition, right? Just so that it cuts across the entire audience. It's basically us referring to machines mimicking human intelligence, right? That's mimicking how we think, mimicking how we learn things, mimicking how we solve problems, mimicking how we make decisions, right? And I want to talk about that from two fronts. On one end, generative AI, right? Talking about understanding inputs, generating content. We also want to talk about it from agentic AI in terms of not just generating outputs, right, but then going on to take action, right? Has anyone in here done something with agentic AI, right? That could be either using an AI agent, right? Trying out one of the AI agents. We talked through a couple of them. OpenAI Operator. I know Anthropic has one as well. Manus as well. Has anyone got experience with AI agents, or even has experience building out an AI agent? That would be quite interesting. So feedback. Oh, awesome, great. Yeah, do you want to come off and share your experience you have working with AI agents?
Okay. So I'm guessing the devs here are familiar with COSOB. COSOB. So they
Yeah.
recently released their own AI agents that improved my debugging to be like 50 times faster. Because previously
Oh,
the
really?
COSOB AI would just be trying to think of possible faults from its knowledge
Really?
base,
Yeah.
but now it's going to read out your entire code base, read out the output of your terminals and all, and pinpoint the exact place where the error or the bug is coming from. So I feel like
Yeah.
that's the way I utilize AI agents.
Okay. Okay. I think that's really interesting, right? So you realize that, I mean, really, at the end of the day, what makes the basic block of agents are large language models and then tools, right? So basically telling a large language model that, okay, you have access to these tools, right? Make magic happen. So that said, right? I think if there's something you want to leave here with this afternoon is fall in love with the problem, not with the cool shiny tools, right? And to be honest, this applies to every single thing, right? When you're out building solutions, right? Because last go back to 2020, right? It was all blockchain. Oh, what can we do with blockchain? What can we do with blockchain? How can we adopt cryptocurrency, right? And I think what should have happened then was going back to the question, okay, what challenges are people facing with the financial systems and how can blockchain solve it, right? But it was more, okay, let's do a hackathon, let's do a blockchain hackathon, use blockchain and solve it problem, right? So we're having, we don't want to approach it as tools looking for solutions, solutions looking for problems, right? But much more starting out from a problem-based approach, right? That's why you want to fall in love with the problem, not the solution. So at the end of the day, for me, that's why I say it's fundamentals, fundamentals. So when you think about the best AI products today, right? They're not just what do you call it, showing off the latest technology, right? A number of agents that we use today, we don't exactly even know which model they use on under the hood, right? And pretty much no one cares, except for, let's say, when you're working with edge cases. For instance, if you're doing core coding tasks with Cursor, you know that Claude is the one of the best what's it called, one of the best LLMs for coding, right? But at the end of the day, people just want something that works, something that feels helpful, right? And it's when you think about it, most of the interesting products we see today, right? Then just start with, oh, how can we use AI, right? We look at ChatGPT, for example. It's really a question of, okay, how can we help people answer questions? How can we summarize content, right? How can we ensure that people have structured responses, right? Because, for instance, which is why I love developers today are flocking to use LLMs for coding tasks as opposed to going to Google, right? Because people don't want to. The core problem is people don't want to go to 10 different websites in the hopes that one of those 10 websites, including Stack Overflow, would be able to tell me how to fix this bug, right? You just want to be able to talk to a pair programmer, right, at on demand and say, okay, I'm facing XYZ. Can you look through this? Can you tell me what's wrong? Or I'm up against a new code base. Can you look through this code base and tell me, okay, how do I use, like, what does this code do? Let's say you're coming in on a new project and you just get handed off a 1,000 line words of code base and like, okay, can you walk me through step by step what this code base does, right? And you're essentially getting the handover you never had, right? Because maybe the other engineer that wrote the code was just not available to the handover, right? And then that's where AI step in, right? So you see that the best product and the products that we're going to see win in the AI age are products that solve really painful problems, right? So just to give you a couple of examples, you're looking at Otter AI, right? Most meetings are going to with Google Meet always have one person usually would have Otter AI snooping around, right? And it's really about real-time transcription, right? Getting those summaries and not coming back to say, oh, what did we talk about in the meeting again? Because most times we're in meetings and everyone is too busy to talk, is too busy to take notes, right? Or too involved in the conversation to take notes, right? And we leave the meeting and say, what do you agree on? When did you say you're going to deliver on, right? And with Otter AI, we're able to avoid all of those awkward questions, really. And that's solving a real problem, right? You see how Superhuman is basically bringing email summaries to you, right? And it's not just saying, oh, AI for emails, right? No, it's really a question of what problem is solving, right? You see the same thing for Manos, right? Which is quite an interesting research assistant, right? And if you've not checked it out, you definitely should. So yes, that said, yeah, we've talked about the problem and solutions, right? Just double down on operator by OpenAI because I hadn't spoken to that earlier. You see how it's able to handle bookings and fill out forms in the background, and it's interesting because we are just at the threshold, right? And you're only going to see things get even better and more interesting, right, in the coming months and years, right? But if you put it down in one thing, it's solving tedious pain points, right? And also, seeing that what you have in AI is like being granted superpowers, but it's a question of where are we going to focus all of our energy on, right? And what problems are we going to solve? I'm really quite keen because I don't have so much insight to everyone's background, right? So I'm really quite keen to wrap up the part where I'm talking in the next 5 minutes tops, and then open the floor for discussion, questions. What use cases are you having? What problems? What are you building that you think AI could be interested in solving? Right, and have bits of brainstorming before we close out today. So yes, that said, right. Let's put it into practice. So you want to always validate rewards usage, right? I remember doing a LinkedIn post some months back on how technology is not a silver bullet, right? A number of times it's always, oh, let's build an application, let's throw this on it, let's throw this into a database, let's build out some APIs for this, right? I always say that, and which applies to this. AI isn't just some silver bullet. A number of times there are broken processes that needs to be fixed, right? So let me give you a quick instance. I was involved in a project once that had to do with using AI for classifications, right? And let's say, for instance, you get documents and you want to classify, and the challenge is that you come up with hundreds of what do you call it? 100 different classes, right? Which should not have been. And yes, it's nice to say we are going to throw out those 100 different classes to an AI model. But from the very beginning, you would have done better with having 10, 15 types of documents and not 100. So the point I'm driving at is just before you throw everything at AI, right? Maybe you want to think through the process you're trying to fix. You want to think through the manual workflow. All right, okay, how can we optimize the manual workflow and make sure that it's at its most efficient level, right? Before we convert that to an AI workflow, right? So that's a bit of understanding the problem first, understanding the manual process first, right? Where exactly is the time wasted? So for instance, we're looking to and this isn't exactly AI though, a problem with like real estate, right? And you realize that as much as you could build a fancy website, right, the bulk of the problem folks face in real estate is documentation, right? Is with the land dispute, is with the regulators and authorities, right? Those are not exact. These are process problems, right? Not technology problems. So you also want to be able to differentiate where the real friction is. You also want to be able to tell this is where the problem is. That this is a technology problem, not a process problem, right? Then you want to think about the tools you're using, right? I mean, at the moment you have tons of APIs available, you have tons of LLMs available, you have tons of agents available, and as said, right, some are just better for giving use cases than others, right? Claude is just better for coding, right? A lot of folks with what's it called, with general purpose use cases, like, oh, I want to use the OpenAI API, and that just works, right? And it's just ensuring that you're walking your own story and not someone else's story. So the fact that these other folks are using Anthropic doesn't mean that Gemini might not be better for you, right? So you want to spend time thinking through your tech stack. Then also you want to now integrate that into your workflow, right? So for instance, okay, I'll come back to the workflows. An example of the workflow in detail, right? So when you look at identifying where the real friction is, right? Also using simple AI tools. Actually, in a world where agents are increasingly becoming a thing, right? It's easy to try to turn everything into an agent. It's easy to try to build super big, large, multi-purpose agents, right? But one of the things we've seen work really well recently is you want to build smaller agents, right? So you could, and that's why you would hear increasingly about agent orchestration, right? Where you're having teams of AI agents, right, work together, right? That way you're able to stitch workflows together, right, and not just features. And much more, you want to validate, right? You do this, right? What's the return on investment? Are you seeing things move faster, right? Are you able to get that done faster? So that said, I'll give you an example, right? So for instance, as Great rightly mentioned, right, and I'm not saying that Cursor is the only good AI powered code editor, right? But it's just personally my favorite, right? Bit off of VS Code, right? Great for pair programming and refactoring. So I mean, then you could start off your workflow with ChatGPT. I mean, everyone in this call definitely knows ChatGPT, right? From brainstorming to writing and planning, right? A couple of folks will use GitHub Copilot, right? Versus Cursor, right? So as I said, it's really figuring out what works for you. Some people prefer Copilot really because, I mean, you could have some what do you call it, organizations say, oh, we can use GitHub Copilot because the whole standardization around it. Could have some startups lean towards, oh, Cursor, because I mean they're shipping features every other market day, right? Yeah, you should definitely also check out Lovable, right? For bringing out user experiences with embedded AI actions. So yes, does anyone have? Okay, I just realized that the answer to that question is yes, because we've had someone on the call talk through Cursor, talk through ChatGPT. So, but yes, is there any AI tools you find yourself using on a day-to-day basis, right? Feel free to please stick that in the chat, right? And let's talk about that. So that said, we want to close off with a short case study, right? So I would encourage everyone to leave. Oh yes, V0. That's a really nice one. Thanks for sharing. Great. So you want to, and one of the interesting things about dealing with AI, right, is that you are able to get things done so much faster, right? There's a bit of how there's a bit of the fact that we still have questions to ask as your product begins to scale, right? And can AI, building it with just AI, hold it all together? I mean, you still need that senior software engineering expertise, right? When you're talking about large scale infrastructure, large scale architecture, right? Both software architecture and solution architecture in this instance. right? But when we're talking about getting that MVP out, right? I mean, yeah, I can relate great. All right. Welcome to the Association of Folks That Don't Like Being Front End. Um, Shout out to anyone who is a front end engineer. I highly and deeply respect your work. All right. Front end is just not for me. So yeah, so we want to always start out building like small workflows. And a number of times you could, which is something that I found myself doing on some weekends, find certain workflows that I would like to automate for myself, right? So treat myself as a user, and but then you also want to get feedback from other people within your sphere, within your community. For instance, you could build a meeting assistant, right? And these are example projects you can build in a simple in a single weekend, right? So that does the meeting recording, does summarize, right? Extract action items, right? Assign it to Asana. This is a very simple workflow, and you can get all of that done in one weekend. Sorry, 1 second. Right, you can get all of that done in one weekend, or you could be the sales agent, right? That reads your CRM to get in all of the user emails, right? Understands their interactions, draft personalized emails, then schedule follow-ups. Simple, right? And choose that, which is why I say that a number of this still boils down to fundamentals, because with the challenge now is literally anything you can think of, you can build it with AI, right? As long as the technology problem. The challenge now is not going to be that what's going to set people apart is people that think more deeply, people that understand problems more deeply, right? People that have that domain expertise, right? For instance, there was someone that got into Y Combinator, and interestingly, he wasn't a software engineer, he was a dentist, right? And he was building a solution for dentists. I think that was to deal with their expenses and invoices and whatnot, basically their back office management. And what made that quite interesting is that he wasn't a software engineer, right? But he had a deep understanding of how dentists deal with their financials, what problems they are facing with invoice, with expenses, with collecting payments and all of that. And so AI was just like his CTO. He was the CEO, right? Bidding side by side and making things work. So what I would say that there are two things you want to do off of this conversation. You want to build strong domain expertise, right? In whatever field you're going to solve, right? Because trust me, most of the low hanging fruit are going to get eaten up quite quickly, right? Because we've also seen a lot of situations whereby people build entire startups on something, right? And then the activity comes up and just releases that as a feature. Like when you had people build startups on PDF, right? Upload a PDF and interact with it with and ask questions about the PDF. And boom, that's currently a feature on ChatGPT. So you want to ensure that what you're building is not going to be a ChatGPT feature in a few weeks or months, right? So remember, small modules that you're able to stitch together properly is going to feel like magic in the hands of the users. So that said, I'm getting to the end of this, right? As I said at the beginning, right? I know there was this FOMO at the beginning of the year, and more even last year that software engineers are going to be extinct by the end of the year, and this is halfway through 2025, and people are still hiring more software engineers, right? So it's really a question of humans who can and do use AI versus humans who don't, right? Consciously or unconsciously, people are going to find out what side of the divide they end up on, right? And this is the point whereby I want to spend a bit of time talking through the ethics as well, right? So when we're talking about ethics, we're talking about we're going to say law of copyright. Oh, yeah, interesting to be first and deep testing application. I think there are quite a lot of us on this table, but then if no one likes front end, it means that not no one. I mean, on this call for context, right? Is a question of where are all the front end engineers at the moment. Right. So yes, back to what I was saying. I think there's a lot of great opportunities that are with, right? And one of the things we're also seeing is that the number of people needed to run a startup is drastically reducing, right? I mean, you're seeing cases of people building multi-million and even billion-dollar startups with just a handful of people. Right? What you usually have requires scaling up to 100 people. Right? You're seeing entire marketing teams of one, right? Entire software engineering teams of 1 to 5 people, right? And they're doing amazing stuff, right? But as with everything, with great honor, right? With great powers come great responsibilities, and then that now brings us to talking ethics, right? Copyright infringement, right? People say, oh, you trained AI on my artwork, or you trained AI on my intellectual property. This picture that really generated looks pretty much like something I drew last year, right? And really that's one piece that, to be honest, no one has all of the answers to, right? Regulators are still figuring things out. The startups are more concerned on how to be ahead of the competition, right? But I think we're at that point whereby we're at that point whereby we either take things well or things go really south for us. So I this is now personal opinion, right? Is that there's that responsibility on each and every one of us to do things ethically, right? And realize that however the world pushes AI today, it's going to tell on the world our children will live in, right? Even to things as, okay, the amount of compute power that we use, right? I mean, we're seeing increasingly more we're beginning to see more and more data centers built out, much more computing power, right? Everyone is trying to get AGI. So AGI, that's where your what do you call it? That's artificial general intelligence, yes. Whereby you're having a situation of AI basically being able to do pretty much everything a human being can do, right? And yes, a lot of companies have promised us AGI for the last few months and years, but we haven't seen it. And the point I was driving at with AGI is that there has been this idea that, okay, the larger the model is, the more compute power we train, the more time we give AI to train, the closer we get to AGI, right? But it's also that approach should also be balanced out by the effects of that, because I mean, at the moment there's really so much electricity we can generate, right? And then the use cases for every watt of electricity we generate is a question of could it be used for something else, right? I mean, we still have while we throw gigawatts of electricity at achieving AGI, you still have entire cities in darkness around the world. But yeah, those are questions I want to leave the audience with in terms of thinking about AI, thinking about AGI, thinking about what the future holds. No one has all of the answers, right? I didn't come up on this call to claim that I did, right? But it's the fact that if we wake up every day, right, with the decision to do the best that we can with the resources that we have, right, for even those that would come after us, I think we're going to do a whole lot, right? So even when we build our products, right, we realize that we're building products for people that we may never meet, right? But our products, we stand with the opportunity to build products that would radically transform how they interact with their lives. I know people that can't imagine going a day without using ChatGPT, but you want to realize that after COVID, there was no ChatGPT, right? 5 years ago, we were all stuck in COVID. We're all stuck in COVID, and everyone was like, oh, are we ever going to step out from these rooms from this lockdown or isolation that we find ourselves in? And 5 years down the line, everyone is talking about, oh, can we achieve AGI, right? Can we have what's called AI do my shopping for me, book my trips for me, right? And it's interesting what the next 5 years will look like. So that's it. Thank you. I would take on questions now. Over to you, great.
Okay, so does anyone have a question or have a topic, anything concerning AI that you want to start able to clarify? Anybody at all?
I think we have quite a quiet audience today.
Okay, well, I have a question myself. So,
Yeah.
everybody has been talking about vibe coding and how it's destructive, but then some people are like, it's a good thing. I have a question about the security aspects. Because
Okay.
from what I've been seeing on Twitter, applications that are vibe coded or created fully with AI are usually very insecure in production. So is that to say that
Come again.
applications that are created with AI or fully created with
Yeah.
AI are usually insecure at production? So is that to say that AI is very inaccurate or is still not where we need it to be able to trust it that much?
Mhm. Yeah, 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 and I absolutely agree with that. That's something that um we're increasingly seeing in this day and age, really, right? I mean, I even had someone talk about why they no longer use what do you call it. So just give me a second. Why they no longer use AI tools? Sorry, just give me a second. Yes. Why they no longer use AI tools? And yes, as you said, so which is why I ended up with that phrase of it's not going to be AI versus humans, right? Because you're still going to need those senior software engineers, those guys who understand how things things work under the hood. You still need those engineers who can be able to detect, oh, this answer that ChatGPT gave me is crap, right? I need to rewrite it, right? I mean, it's good when you're generating templated code. It's good when you're starting out being at an MVP. But then, when you're talking about scaling to 100 million users, for instance, right? Yes, you can't vibe code your way there. It doesn't work, right? If anyone's telling you that, bro, they're. I mean, obviously, I'm sure they can be selling you that great, but if anyone's selling that, just know that they're selling you snake oil. But one of the things we're going to see, I think we're going to see is over time, the overall number of software engineers you're going to see is going to decrease, right? And so I was watching a video a couple of days ago, and it's how he said that vibe coders are going to be the first folks to leave, right? Because as AI becomes increasingly more intelligent and efficient, right? You realize that teams of let's say 4 engineers will shrink to one or two, right? And the junior folks are going to be the most at risk, right? Because at that point, you need someone, you need one engineer who's going to be more of an orchestrator, right? And is able to tell, okay, this this architecture is crap. Um this this design doesn't this make sense. We should have used a different library in this instance, right? Someone who has um cut cut their nails, who has the battle scars of seeing things go wrong in production and fixing it, right? So yes, that's that's it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks, sir.
So just also to add on to that is that you want to, in the mode of vibe coding, right? You want to also spend a lot of time writing things down yourself. It's the same whereby we have laptops, but people still write things down by hand, right? Because when you write things down by hand, it helps your memory a whole lot more than when you type things out, right? So you want to ensure that, I mean, you're still spending time to the summary of what I'm saying, that you can't shortcut the process. The fact that, oh, we could vibe code today, you can't shortcut your way to being a senior software engineer. I'm sorry. If you find out how, let me know, right? But to date, nothing. So yes, I think we're good. Oh yes, thank you for the feedback, Toby. Yeah, yeah, over to you, great. Okay, okay, that's okay. I'll wait for you to finish up with the question. Okay, wrap-up engineering workflow. Okay, okay. Just while we're waiting for that question to come in, is there anyone that's currently building something with AI or currently has an idea, right, that they think that oh AI will make and okay, I'll come to your question, right? Um, Toby, I'll come to your question. So, is there anyone that's currently building something AI or has an idea and think that oh, or is working in a field? Let's say you're working as a lawyer. Sorry, quite a few folks came in, and I hope you can still hear me clearly. Okay, yes, Mr. Austin, over to you. Yeah, Mr. Austin, I can see your hand up. You want to unmute?
That if anybody that is working with AI and other stuff, so I raised up my hand. So
Okay. Go on.
Is your question again?
Yeah, like do you want to
were
share what
breaking
you're
a bit.
building,
I didn't get
how you're using AI?
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm building a payment solution that uses AI agents and ESCO services to kind of fight fraud, payment fraud. Say, for example, you send money to someone and the person decide to play you strong thing or play you, the more you look, the less you see. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So especially if the person is in another state or another country, technically there's nothing you can do because where do you know you want to look for the person? So what we are trying to build with PaliPay is to allow people, let's say Nigerians or people who are overseas, recover their funds. So if I send you money to do something for me and you decide not to go ahead with the agreement and you decide to pocket the money without doing the job, all you have to do is raise a dispute on the platform saying that you did a job for this person and this person doesn't want to, you gave this person money to do a job and the person doesn't want to pay. So what the platform will now do is the AI, that's where the AI comes in. So the AI comes in to now settle the issue between the two of you to kind of what's the issue, where did it come from, determine the whole fact. So the AI, first of all, extracts the information, get a background information based on the two parties that have disputes. Then second of all, determine who is at fault and where the issue is coming from based on the evidences that both parties have submitted. Then third of all, determine who is the victim and who is the villain. Now, if the person, if say for example, you that sent the money is the villain, then and wait for the guy to resolve the issue or to service you based on what you've requested for. But if you are the victim, what the AI will now do is to tell the other party to return your money. And should the person decide that they don't want to return the money, the AI cannot issue like a mandate or will not go to the recovery stage where it will now forcefully recover the money from your account and send the money back to the original person that initially paid you the money. You understand? So that is how the AI part works. But the blockchain part works in the area of, so that one is more of like a corrective measure, which means the fraud has already happened. Then the AI is trying to help you recover the situation. Then the other one, the blockchain part, is in the angle of prevention. So it means that you don't know the person, you are meeting the person for the first time, you don't trust them, so you give them to do the job. The blockchain or escrow service holds the funds, and then there's something that is going to happen on the background, which is going to be a smart contract. So that smart contract is going to, based on the contract that two of you have established, once the conditions behind the contract is met, the money will be automatically released to the person. But if that is not the case, the money will still exist in your hands. So long as the other party can prove that he has fulfilled his own end of the contract, the money will go to the other party. You understand? So that way you can prevent fraud. So in a scenario where you ask someone to do a job and the person doesn't do it, you don't need to start thinking about recovery because the money is still in. You can easily just ask the system to return the money back to you. So that is how we are using AI and blockchain in payment solution. I don't know if I answered your question.
Mr. Ibube, we can't hear you. Please check your mic. We can't hear you.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We didn't hear what
Yeah.
you said. The last few words you said, I didn't hear anything.
Oh, yeah. Apologies that my mic was on double mute. So yes, I was just saying thank you so much for sharing, Mr. Austin.
Okay.
So yes. Other than that, I'll just take the last question. I don't know if there are any more questions coming up, but Toby's question, where you look at real examples outside of I think one of outside of software engineering, I think one of the things that have made for software engineering use cases quite pick up a lot is because of the ability to write code and test. So you can easily detect when AI is giving you good solutions or bad solutions. For instance, if I throw an AI agent at my code base that's properly unit tested, right? If it breaks anything, my unit tests are going to break. So I can quickly detect when AI is going off the rails. But it's not the same as with everything. For instance, if I'm having what's it called? If I'm having like a consulting session or valuation, whereby you're doing valuation for a company, which are projection. I don't know whether it's right or wrong, right? I mean, you can only tell in the next 5 years when you get there. So, but we're seeing some interesting ones come up in, like for instance, people building consultancies off of AI to go head to head with the likes of Deloitte and BCG, right? We're also seeing I mean within logistics we build out things to optimize routes, right? So that let's say delivery driver is able to know the most efficient routes, right? To take while delivering of stuff. I know there are also some AI use cases for building out models. I mean, building out financial models, creating research documents, right? Basically, what analysts, financial analysts would create, right? Leveraging AI to do the same. And I mean, you have a lot of deep research assistants coming up, and that cuts across literally every field you could think of. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. AOB. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for having me. Great. Thank you for having me, Cheryl.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Toby, for the questions. Just to add, this is an ongoing conversation. We cannot exhaust this. So we do have Mr. Ubechi on our on on our I'll call it board at CHSG, and AI. I was sharing with Mr. Ubechi is going to disrupt a lot in Nigeria. And what we don't realize is that the same way the first revolution came with the printing, and the second revolution came with telephone, and then the third revolution came with internet. Right now, Africa has the chance. I'm so passionate about Africa because I'm African. Ubechi is African. Almost everybody on this call is African. Good. So somebody's trying to get on the call here. Let me just admit them. This call will be on YouTube, but I want us to keep the conversation going. I don't know if Mr. Bechi would like to drop his LinkedIn, and also maybe I don't know where you can reach Mr. Bechi. If you could just drop that quickly, Mr. Bechi, or your email address.
Okay. So sure, I'll just give this for everyone that made it to this call, also because Mr. Sharon special to me. The hack is let's connect on LinkedIn. Thursday mornings are my most active days on LinkedIn, right? Where I try to go through every DM I receive, send DMs, and help as much as possible. And just put it out there, I'm also quite keen to collaborate on like AI projects, right? So if you have something you're building, and you want to bounce off ideas, or if you're thinking through a problem, I think, oh, this problem can be solved by AI. I'm the guy to talk to. So yeah, thank you.